right. I am so delighted today. I have a purpose-driven founder sitting with me here at Think Brand Talk Brand podcast, and I am so happy to welcome Erica. Hi, Erica.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Erica. Erica is the CEO and founder of Animal Blood Center. It's California's first community-based pet blood bank. She is leading the charge to build the infrastructure, partnerships, and programs that make life-saving blood accessible for pets across the state. Her work is setting a new standard for veterinary care and driving change in a field that has long lacked visibility and resources. Oh my God, Erika, everything about this is so inspiring. It's so amazing. I really am delighted that I have you here because I feel that there are so many uh, industries and so many sectors which are underserved. And it is people like you who bring the unheard heroes, who bring light to these unserved sectors. And that's the kind of purpose that I think aligning with is amazing. And I want to congratulate you on that.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Erica, as you know, the episode is about you and your brand and the purpose, but I really wanted to shift the focus a bit more on when, businesses like this want to reach out to more meaningful, partnerships or collaborators. They need a certain positioning in this space which can help them
Hmm.
uh, reach out and reach out in the correct way, because that's what we want, right? We want to be heard and seen by the right people. So I
For
think I
sure.
really want to go back and ask you, when did it become real for you, right? Like, when did you realize that? What was the, take me back to the story where in your life where you realized that this is what you wanted to do, that animals needed a blood bank. Like, what happened? What did you see?
For sure. It's hard to kind of pin it down to one moment. I feel like I've always had a heart for animals, and
Yeah.
growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I just quickly realized that I didn't want to be dealing with like sick and dying animals all the time. And so I just kind of, tabled that for a little bit. But that passion and that part of me has always really been a driving force. And I feel
Mhm.
like in the past couple years, it just came to this realization where there often isn't blood available for pets who need it. And it felt like finding something that was hidden in plain sight. And, I feel like human blood donation is a very well understood concept and process. And so just applying that to, the pet world, I was like, oh my goodness, this seems to be something that should be a thing and it's not.
Yeah.
And once I started to realize that, it kind of came from this place of heartbreak and curiosity. But the more I dug, the more I realized there was no scalable, reliable system for this animal blood, especially in
Mhm.
California. And then
Mhm.
my background being in engineering and also tying that with the animal lover part, my brain was like, okay, this can be fixed. Something needs to be done about this. And
Mm.
then I feel like that was a spark that really drove, the compassion into the innovation part. I really want to rewire how we think about pet blood banking and just create a community-based, transparent, and ethical, business from the ground up. And that's something that isn't currently being done. So I'm really excited to do that. And that's how Animal Blood Center was born.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think most founder stories that I've heard, read, or I interact with is primarily coming from a place of, I needed this, I didn't have this, I couldn't find it, so I created it. Like, that's the journey
Hmm.
most founders have when they create something which is meaningful, is because they have deeply felt that need in some point of their life, and they felt that lack of that availability of whatever it could be, like you said, ethical community, or
Hmm.
for someone else it could be like a course that didn't exist to train somebody in XYZ, and they created that course. So it's always amazing to dig into the spirit of the founder, of how it happened for them. If you had to, like, clearly, like a clear promise of animal blood center, if you had to put it in one line and explain it to somebody who is
Hmm.
coming into your world, how would you define that?
My favorite way to say it is we're the pet version of American Red Cross. So just think of like the
Mm.
Red Cross for cats and dogs. We haven't built the nonprofit side up yet, but that is part of the vision. But something that, we can leverage is that notion that, human blood banking is very well understood. And now we just need to apply it to pets. And there is this national shortage and there is a huge problem, especially in California now. And then so just spreading that awareness and seeing that it can really be a solution if we all put our brains together and we all just like help a little bit can really go a long way and make a really big impact and save lives.
Oh yeah, that's such a great way of doing it, and kind of putting it in a nutshell for someone who maybe interacts with you in an event where they just want to understand you in a one-liner, and that's just the perfect way to say it for someone to immediately connect. Like Red Cross is obviously hugely popular for blood donations, so I really like that you've used that analogy for others to understand your promise. What as a founder,
Mhm.
as a business, what's your promise, right? So I think most people don't even know that this is needed. Like,
Mhm.
this problem exists is something that is not known to many people. So how do you use your platform to like share more about it without scaring people? Because obviously there is a side to it that this if this is ethically needed, that means it's happening unethically somewhere. So
Yeah.
like, and a lot of times like, people are like a bit wary of getting into anything which is crossing the lines of legality and ethical. So how do you make
Mhm.
it more accessible to people, to your future collaborators, partners, consumers, without really having to scare them away?
Yes, I feel like that is something that is really close to my heart because if anything that you look up right now, it's very sensational. PETA has an opinion on it. There's a lot of negativity and just darkness around this kind of topic. It's a very heavy thing to be exposed to.
Yeah.
Fortunately, California legislation has made it where there are laws now in place to address the ethics of it. And that's also part of our vision is to be something that is ethical and transparent. I think it's about not just giving somebody the current state of reality and leaving them with the despair and the weight and the heaviness of it, but providing a better option and just providing a new way that things can be done and hope and just, yes, explaining the situation, the current reality for what it is, but then also on the backside being like, hey, we don't have to keep doing it this way, and there's a difference that we can make together. So I think it's just really putting someone in my shoes, to
Yeah.
have for them to have the same realization that I had, that this is very necessary and it's very needed. And it doesn't have to just stay this way, that we can make a difference together.
Wow, that's beautiful. I think you are describing a way that maybe there are people who've gone through a really terrible experience because of this, and to actually make a change and make an impact, it really takes a lot of courage. It really takes a lot
For
of
sure.
understanding of what pain people have gone through. So I think that's where your idea of this business is, or this brand is so great. And for the sake of the listeners, are there any safety practices that you promise or you kind of work towards, so that say if I'm a pet owner and I want to come and help be part of your cause, how can I be sure that like if I'm coming and working and it's everything is safe? So what's the promise here?
For sure. So a lot of what we're building is based upon the California Department of Food and Agriculture's regulations. So they actually have
Mhm.
a department now that regulates animal blood banking. And so that's been something that has maybe deterred, other hospitals or other businesses and brands from creating themselves, just because of that regulation.
Mhm.
However, it's there for a reason. We want to be transparent. We want to be ethical. So there are standards and protocols already set in place, but everything that we do is for the health of the animal. There's no sort of financial incentive, for donors, to come and donate. Everything would just be, out of the goodness of your heart. Chances are if
Yeah.
you're a pet parent, I don't need to convince you that this is a worthy cause. You already have that heart and that empathy for animals.
Yeah.
And, just knowing the impact of your donation, I think is really huge, that dogs can save, one donation can save 4 lives. Like they can
Yeah.
save more lives than you can, and it's a very quick and easy, painless process. It's faster than a typical human blood donation. It takes like 10, 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
the impact is astronomical in that sense. So I just believe that when presented with a better option, that people want to take it and make a better option. And there are, those regulating bodies at B that are making sure that we're doing it correctly. But,
Hmm.
from our perspective too, we're also, you're getting the free blood work, the physical exam, maybe we'll throw in some merch and some swag, that kind of thing. And just I'm really excited for that part to make it an experience, for the owner and for the
Yeah.
dog and for the pet. So yeah, I'm really excited to do that. But it does come from that place of transparency, being open and honest about not only the current reality, but how we're addressing it and how we're fixing it, and then just building that relationship, with pet owners and vets, and going from there and just being very open about it.
No, you said some great things here. I think empathy is big because I think this business, like, if it's totally based on that, because if you have empathy for, the way it's happening right now, and your heart bleeds and pains for the animals who have to be unethically used for this purpose, I think that is where it goes back to empathy is so big in this particular business. And I feel that every purpose driven owner that I speak to, who has a bigger purpose in their brand, which is not just about making money, it comes from a place of
Hmm.
empathy. It they
For sure.
feel something which is bigger than themselves. And I was just discussing something with another collaborator, and she was like, so many things change in our life on a daily basis. Like, now we have AI. In 2000, it was the dot-com boom. Like, things keep changing. But if your purpose is
Hmm.
big, you are going to sustain the tide over all of that. And that is where your own mission and vision kind of helps in pushing through even the hard times, because it's not always going to
Hmm.
be glorious, right? It's not always going to have the best case scenarios. You'll have dark days, and then this kind of purpose that you are living and you're promoting and you are devoting a cause to, I think is so brilliant, because that is something even I truly believe in, that if your brand purpose is so clear and it's so high, then everything else is inversely proportional to it. Like the overwhelm, the hard days, maybe you lost a partnership because of XYZ. All of those hard things get inversely proportional to the achievement of this brand purpose. So it's amazing. And you
Yes.
also said about transparency, right? Because anything in this business has the emphasis on transparency is so high. So, could you walk us through a typical, like a typical case or typical scenario? How does a healthy pet become a donor, and how does a clinic request blood? Like, how does that happen?
Hmm. Sure. So the process is super simple. I like to explain it as we'll pre-screen, healthy donors that come from loving families. So any dog, pretty much like 1 to 8, they have to be over a certain weight, typically around 50 pounds. They just
Yeah,
have to have a good, body score. The vet will perform the physical exam to make sure that they're, a good donor, good to go.
yeah.
We'll take a couple forms from you guys in terms of any like flea and tick preventatives that you're on, any sort of disease or medication, that kind of thing. So the biggest thing is we'll take a sample of the blood, and if we perform the collection, it's super painless, really quick and easy. And then we'll test that blood for any sort of diseases, that it may have. We'll perform the complete blood count. We'll
Mm-hmm.
send that off to the lab and make sure it comes back clean. And then once it goes from there, depending on what a hospital needs, so the major 3 products that they're asking and that are in demand right now are whole blood, red blood cells, and plasma. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on a hospital's need, we can either, just keep it as whole blood or then process it into red blood cells and plasma and then go from there. So part of the thing that I have in terms of my vision is being able to innovate on the delivery system, because right now, just the main supplier has uh, I don't even know. Like it's the price increases for some of the blood products are really insane, and everything's on back order. With the national shortage and everything, the prices can be up as high as 200 to 300%. I actually just talked to a vet recently that shared this with me, and I thought the lead times were 1 to 2 months, and it turns out it's 2 to 3 months. And so they're just placing these orders, every month or every 2 months and thousands of dollars and hoping that their order gets fulfilled. And there's no guarantee that it will. And sometimes a blood bag can be as high as, $1,100, which is crazy. So,
Yeah.
there's definitely a need. And even when it comes to a transfusion, a cost, typical range is anywhere from 3 to 5K. And the saddest part, and what actually like breaks my heart in terms of like empathy, is that once an owner is hit with that price tag, they
Yeah.
will choose to euthanize upon estimation. And that just absolutely broke my heart. I literally cried when I got off the phone with the vet that shared that with me. And I just can't
Yeah.
even imagine having to be put in that situation and having to make a decision like that. And I don't think any pet parent anticipates that. So it's just that's kind of the current state of things. It's very much feast or famine, and everyone is kind of fending for themselves in terms of trying to meet their own needs internally, and that's not sustainable, long term. So that's really the problem that we're trying to address. And the vision that I have is to be able to get these products in the hospitals when they need it, as soon as they need it. And I really think that that is their biggest need, in terms of the reliability and the accessibility, and then, just having it be there and ready when they need it.
Wow, Erika, that is immense. Honestly, I really have no words to tell you how I feel like when you're telling me all of this, because I do remember a friend, and not exactly a blood situation, but their pet had diabetes, like, and the
Mhm.
insulin cost for the poor pet was so high that they had to eventually, euthanize it. And it has happened in front of me.
Mhm.
So I totally understand what you're saying. And then my
Yeah.
friend was really broken for a very long time. And, most pet parents love their pets as their own family, as their own kids. So if you won't do it to your own, real family of humans, like to do it to your own pets is it's an immense
Mhm.
heartbreak. And I believe
It
that
is.
this core message that you have, I think even when you are working towards your visibility, or you're working towards all of the work that you will put into to reach out to a bigger pool of collaborators and partnerships, you really should use this messaging of, equating this trauma, because it is a trauma at the end of the day if you have to like let
Mhm.
go of a pet because of lack of something. So I really feel
Yeah.
that your core message, your primary message, and all your communication must use this thing as something that people can immediately empathize with, right? Because one is, on
Exactly.
one side of the supply chain, you're talking about the unethical treatment of animals, which is also equally bad, because they may not be someone's
Mhm.
pet, but they are still animals, right? And they are
Yeah.
being treated unethically just for the sake of like supply chain. And on the other end, loving pets of homeowners are of families are losing their life because they didn't get what they needed. So I feel
Mhm.
that your messaging is very, very strong, and it will hit home very quickly the moment you start shaping it in the right way, in the right format, channeling it through whichever platforms that you're using. I think your core message is really going to hit home. So I really also want you to, take us a little more deeper into this, like your empathy and this understanding of life. Like many people can see it, right? Like I can see it, and uh many people can see it, but very few people will do something about it. So there is a layer of, if we go further down, there is something else that you are trying to channel
Mhm.
here, and I really want to dig into that. What is that? Like, why is it empathy so important about this cause to you that you want to create a whole new ecosystem for this need in the market? I'm sure many pet owners understand this, but not everyone's creating it. So can you go a little deeper
Mhm.
into your reason for this?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just not the kind of person that can turn away from an animal in suffering. And that's happened, over the course of my life. I've had accidents and incidents with pets where, they've needed emergency care and, you're just not even in the right mind to be able to think about anything else other than your pet in that moment. And, there's times where I found like dogs on the street and like had to do something about it. So I think that has always been very innate and inherent to me. And it was just something that I saw it's more of a supply chain issue. This is
Mhm.
not something where I'm like curing cancer. This is a process. This is a supply thing. And so I feel like my experience also with engineering has really prepared me to tackle this problem because we're trained as engineers to look at the process. We're trained to look at, how can we innovate on the process itself, whereas a veterinarian, they're focused on the animal in front of them and they're trying to find the solution of how can I address this animal, and help them in this moment. Whereas I get to build the infrastructure that allows them to do that. So I feel like I have this unique perspective where I can bring my engineering knowledge and apply my passion, for animals and create something that is needed and necessary, but from this place of, no animal should have to suffer and no one should ever have to put their pet down just because they can't afford it, just because they can't control the price of blood. That's not something the vets can control. That's not something the animals control. And the owners can't control that either. So I just saw it as something that can be changed. And, it's taken a long time to change it. It's been about 4 years that legislation has changed in California. No one's really stepped up to the plate until now. So I feel like the time is right. And I feel like, I have this unique perspective and I have the skills and I'm really excited to put them together and make an impact.
Oh my gosh, this is exactly like this is amazing. You just hit the nail on the head. Like it's not just about the cause, it's about your unique perspective to it, right? It's your passion and your skills and your perspective. It's like the ikigai of it, right? Like it's that concept of where everything, in the center comes together because it's not just one thing. And it's amazing that you're using all of your expertise, your experience on this and channeling it into your passion. So this is amazing. Is there something like
For
this
sure.
that exists in other states or other countries?
Yes. So California is the last to adopt this community model. It's not as, ubiquitous as it is across the country.
Oh,
But yes, so there are proven systems, in other states, in Colorado and Florida and Texas, Georgia. I know of some, and then internationally as well. The UK has a really great system. Brazil has a very well-established pet blood banking system. Portugal, some areas in Spain as well. So this is a global issue, but I feel like the US is kind of late to the party and in California even more so when it comes to addressing it. So that's
yeah.
also good to know, even though it's the first here in California, it's still a proven process, that's being done and has
Yes.
potential to make, a national impact as well.
No, yes, because I think the fastest way to create something and make sure it's succeeding is to look at similar models that exist and how are they doing it. Because this is such a brilliant cause, you have all the skills. So, even in terms of, say, you need funding or you need some support, like having these kind of case studies of other popular, organizations who are doing it is like the perfect way for you to get more people in the room and, make this cause much more accessible to everybody.
Hmm.
That's amazing.
For sure.
So, I really want to close this episode by asking you that as a listener, somebody who's listening to this episode and they want to take the first step, what is the lowest lift? Like, what is the lowest level effort that they need to make? Say, in any capacity, how can they help you? How can they
Hmm.
contribute to your cause?
For sure. So I am launching a GoFundMe, and that's really where I'm inviting everyone to just come in and be part of our story from day one. And that's more to serve the purpose of a sort of soft launch, a proof of concept. It's not just for raising capital, it's more to just, show the community that when we come together, we can do something incredible. And I want to have like a donor event and, show the process from beginning to end in terms of, this is what it looks like, not just talking and telling about it, but showing the actual process of here's what we can do, here's from start to finish, and then just sharing that with, the world essentially. But that
Mhm.
that would I would say is the most immediate thing. But even just taking the quiz, to see if your dog is eligible to donate on our website at animalbloodcenter.org. We also have a quiz for veterinarians if there's any sort of need that they have. We just want to be able to capture that. But even just every share, every donation, or just telling your friends, hey, cats and dogs can donate blood too, that's a huge thing. I feel like the awareness is, incredible. And this isn't something that is really crossing anyone's mind, on a daily basis. So every little bit counts and helps in terms of, spreading that awareness. And yeah, I'm just grateful to create this kind of like movement and to show people that we can all come together and make something special.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. So if I've heard you right, and anyone who's listening, the number one thing that they can do is take the quiz on the website, which I'll be linking in the episode bio. Or there's also a GoFundMe page, which also I will be linking, and they can use it to share donations. They can share it with their friends and families who are equally
Yeah.
invested in this cause as pet owners or as animal lovers. So this is amazing, Erica. As again, I want to just congratulate you on taking this step of such a worthy cause. Like as you said, that your unique perspective, your passion, and your skills all have come together. So like success is guaranteed in this way. So I really want to
Thank
congratulate
you.
you. And I want to thank you for coming on the episode today because I really want other purpose-driven owners to understand what it takes to build a brand when your cause and what you're living for is so deep and it's so worthy. And a lot of times, what happens is that for a lot of brand owners with a cause, still want to look at vanity metrics very soon, which means like, oh my God, how many follows did I get? How many likes did I get? How many,
Hmm.
website traffic did I get? So, what happens is that you can get very quickly engaged in this particular vanity metrics and you can just feel disheartened, but I feel that,
Hmm.
as I said earlier, that your purpose is so high that your disappointment or overwhelm will always be lower compared to somebody who doesn't really believe in their cause that much, because you know that yes, right now it's not happening, but as you go along and you keep building and you keep creating, I think you will get, the right people aligned with you, the right partners and collaborators and investors. All of them will come together because you believe in your cause so much. So I really think that's going to
Yes,
happen for
I
you
really
and
do.
for and for other
Thank you.
of course, and yes, let's jam again. And when when you have a success story to share with us, please do. I'll be tagging you on everything. And then yes,
Sounds
thank you
good.
so much for being on the episode today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is so great. I really hope that the passion and the conviction comes through. And, like you said, that this is so much bigger than just me. And I'm just really excited to be able to be at the forefront of something so new and emerging and that has the potential to make an incredible impact. So thank you again for having me.
Of course, Erica. Thank you so much for joining me.